So we had a really long break in San Francisco. We're remembering how to work again. And because we had a short week, and because this is the last week of the month, and we have 4 selling days left, we're going to try to keep this really quick. And this is going to be an amazingly, amazingly interesting weekly. Not because I have lots of jokes, as much as I would love to do that, but because we have a special guest that we haven't seen in a really long time that's going to present and regale us. A little more on that later. But first, welcome, Steph. Where are you? You here? Oh, stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. So that tell me you can see you. This is our new UX designer. We haven't been looking for that role very long, right? Like that was a pretty quick fill. Yeah, just a year. So welcome. You're doing you're doing the work of God. But no pressure. Okay, so really quick performance update. We don't have a lot of major updates this week because a lot of us were out, but more importantly, it was also a slow week for our clients as well. We have a special guest. We're gonna have Oz coming up for I think the first time the entire quarter, so it's kind of a big deal. And then we had a short week. I don't know if we have any shout outs, but we'll see. Okay, so this week by Gabby, 2 TBDs. That might be Tomas, Bailey, Duran. We'll have to see what those are. It looks like we do have some spots available if you guys have anything to present. And we have some honeyversaries. Mayan, we have another acronym, the DDE. We have Declad Duran and Elad on Friday. And wait, how was that honeyversary? And Elizabeth's birthday. So round of applause, guys. Okay, winning even more awards. So who is Stevie? Stevie is someone that really likes women. Do we have an update? Is Shadia presenting on it? No? Okay, well then we were a bronze winner for the Stevie Awards, and we'll hear more about the harrowing selection process and how we made it through in a future update. Okay, the referral leaderboard is getting intense. Like it used to be Carmen that was all by herself up top. Now she's getting some challenges. And also we have a new player, lucky number 13 on the screen. Stephanie McQuaid came in with a referral. So just a quick reminder here, I don't think anybody's in range. 2 points for the backpack, but we still have a month left. And this slide is really interesting. Here are the open roles, and I cannot believe what I'm reading on the screen right now. Manager, we need referrals for that. We social media in this company, and stars hang out with stars. So guys, you just have to refer your friends. This has to be the best company to work if you're in social media, because your competing job offers are like a paper company that wants to have a Facebook group. So we have like such a better environment here. So I hope that this is not on the screen next. Is there anything happening in the next week or two? Yes, we have a board meeting. Just a reminder, what are board meetings and why do we have them? Board meetings are not where we make decisions. They're where we get around the table, we take inputs, and then we come back and internally figure out what we're going to do. The focus of this board meeting is showing our 2018 plan and getting some feedback on it. So that's what's happening this week. Next week, using that, we're going to have a leadership offsite, and we're going to answer some really huge questions that have been outstanding in the company for a really long time. We're going to figure out things like on our core vendors. We're going to go broader. Those are the things that are happening next week. We also have a mysterious cyberthon. We've heard of hackathons before. We have no idea what a cyberthon is, but we're going to have an update of the weekly next Monday to find out what that's about. I'm glad you guys asked how performance was while we were all celebrating the holidays. Well, while some of us were celebrating the holidays last week. So TLDR and performance. So performance is good, bad, good, and good and bad. And in details, the booking number is really good. Strongs on venues. We're seeing event planners drop off, but that's being made up by the other vendor bookings. This one's in good shape. So KR1 is the one we really have to focus. KR is not in good shape right now for a few different reasons. Number one, we have a tactical thing. We trialers in the last 2 weeks, but there's been some quality issues. So if trialer quality is down, that means conversion is down, and that's what drives this whole thing. The important thing, which is the big picture, is that we've been running some experiments that haven't panned out the way we wanted them to. We have something really, really big that we're working on now, but it's not quite out the door. So it's in development this week. And the other thing you have to remember about this KR that's really important to note, this is measuring 14-day conversion, meaning the number that you're seeing on the screen is reflecting what we did 2 weeks ago. So that's what's really going to always make this one a challenge. But this is the one that's really important. This is the one we have to keep our eyes on. And once we have this new experiment out the door, we're going to have to see some better results there. And sneak preview, this is a blast from the past because we've tried something similar to this before, but this is part of the vision for what we want the new trialer experience to be, kind of a choose your own adventure route where we're not dictating the path that new members have to go by. Plus, like now we have Steph, so this will probably be like knocked out and look beautiful in the next few days anyway. So we'll have an update next week. Venues. So the good part about this update is that we are doing really, really well on the top number. 37 is really significant for venue wins because this is basically for venues that we've ever won in a quarter before, and we still have a month left. The bad part about the KR is that one of the really important things is proving the vision for two become one, if you remember at the beginning, trying to figure out how do Wedding Spot and Honeybook work together. And one of the things we're trying to prove is how do we take venues that are successful on Wedding Spot and make them a fit for Honeybook? And that one is still not proven, and it's really important to prove that. So who's going to save the day? There's one person in the company that's going to do it, and that is Riley, because now Riley is full-time on flipping Wedding Spot venues to Honeybook, and she'll probably be like reversed from where it is today. So this is one of the good updates. So this is KR3, new trialers from pre-trial channels. We're doing really well. We had a slow week, but there's a bunch of stuff that we're currently in the process of launching. A new badge for community members. Not going to spend much time here because we're doing great, so just keep that up. And then this is another one of the good bad ones. So KR4 is proving density. Essentially, we're looking for two things here. Number one, we have to get a lot of people in Los Angeles to receive opportunities. So we've been trying to drive these signups. That part of the KR is going, you can see we're well above goal there. The bad part about this is that what we're looking for is once we bring in a lot of density in one area, we want to see something special happen. And we haven't seen that yet. So we have worked that out. So now I want to invite our special guest up. And the reason is because this whole quarter, Oz has been having a lot of really important meetings externally. He's been going to some very prestigious and taking a lot of new ideas. And right after one of his trips, he came up to me and said, dude, something crazy happened. And normally that's a really, really bad sign for someone with a job like mine, because it means interns, we can find something for them to do, or I just signed a contract, or there's this great event and we want to host at the office tomorrow. But this time, there was a nice silver lining. The update was, I think we've become a fintech company. And I was like, oh, like, when was that? And we're not really sure, but we're starting to see that this important part of our business, the payment network is expanding so much, and we're learning from our customers the importance that financing brings to them. So this is short to say, there are so many new ideas that we're receiving outside. You know, there's so many really like interesting parties that Oz is meeting with, and from time to time, you know, these ideas shape our vision, and it's always important that we have the company completely aware of the latest version of what we're thinking about where we're driving the bus. So today is an opportunity, right before we go into our board meeting, before we go into our leadership meeting, to hear directly from Oz the latest way that we're our mission and what we are. So normally we have an update that says why are we here, and today it's an update of almost why we're here and who are we.
Hey, yeah. So thank you, John, for giving me this opportunity last night. But no, but what we're gonna just look at right now is something for two of our investors. It started with an update to Vintage. These are the investors that came in the last round. That was in Israel, and another update to Norwest. These are the Series B investors. As you all know, Jeff Crow sits on the board, and we updated the partners of the fund. That was last week, and John thought and agree that it's a good idea to give you guys the same update and kind of like share with you the way we're sharing. As John said, we are noticing that we're playing in the more of the fintech playground, and the reason that is important because understanding in which ecosystem we're playing or operating creates a lot of opportunities for us, and we see other players in that ecosystem coming to us and saying, hey, we want to partner with you, we want to make it easier for you to transact money or support your to give financial services to your members. Whatever the thing is, more opportunities in that way, and that's a great thing. The last thing I will say about that is these days. Many years ago, there was a company called PayPal that was sold for $1 billion to eBay. That was huge. It was a huge win for a few unknown individuals, some of which you know, so it's Peter Thiel. Today, that amazing dollars does not look that amazing anymore because it's $95 billion. So a great win for eBay for acquiring that company. But that is kind of showing us something else, something that is happening in the market. Not only PayPal, happens with Square and Stripe and others. We'll talk about that in a few slides. Lastly, I want to thank people that worked on these slides. So Emery, Martha worked here on the slides, Anat, Yen, although you don't know it, but you definitely contributed at one point here. So what is the free economy? Before we start, we gave Norwest kind of a then and now. And it's just interesting to see when Norwest came in, what was our revenue? Our revenue was $245,000 in run rate. And in October 2017, it was $13 million. Don't care that much about revenue. Norwest do. They do. But more important is just to see how our core metrics, our CAC, LTV, churn, etc., are trending, and they're all trending really good and well. And I will show it to you in a moment. Secondly, what was really exciting for our investors to look at is the leadership team, and that we have amazing in this company and a great team. It's the diversity and mix of individuals and what each and every one of them are bringing to the table. Representation to the culture of the company. And obviously, I'm talking about having two people with beards on the team. Not every team has that. So we talked about three things. First, the revolution, and that's more about the generation, and I will cover that. We discussed Honeybook, and Yen joined me to that meeting and kind of walked Norwest partners through our different metrics, and we talked about social impact. What is this revolution we're thinking of. And why are we calling it the free? Calling it the free economy, an output of the free generation. So what is the free generation, you ask? For years now, we talk about millennials. Who are these millennials? Millennials are Generation Y, right? But guess what happened? There's a new generation in town, and that is Generation Z. These are people that were born post 93. Anyone here? In the crowd? You see, Ken, I told you, okay. But you guys are special because Generation Z are kind of another layer of this super entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to do their own thing, but at the same time, it's talking more and more about purpose. While millennials were the rise of the gig economy, we see more and more Generation Zs saying, just be this or that as part of the gig economy. I want to build my own thing, and I want it to mean something, and I want it to last. And this is very interesting. And when you think about the people that we are serving, connects to that. So it's not only that we are there, so many solopreneurs, etc., but the belief is that that is going to increase exponentially. Okay, so even in the last few years, we saw how it's growing. In 2016, 55 million Americans were doing freelance work. Okay, that doesn't mean that they ditched completely the corporate world, but it does mean that full-time or not full-time, they were doing something that is considered. What's interesting is, and that's by a research way to it, one out of every two Americans is going to do freelance work. Now think about that. That is crazy. 50% of the workforce is going to do freelance work. 80 million Americans are going to do freelance work. That is nuts. And it means systems need to be in place to make it possible, to make it easy, to make it sustainable. Because as I said, this generation does not want to do a one-off. This generation wants to build long-lasting businesses. Does it mean that we are targeting all 80 million? Well, in the next few, probably. The answer is no. We're trying to focus and go after what we believe is a market fit for us. I know for sure that we have a product market fit on what we size it as $100 billion transacting community, or what at least I believe are 2 million potential customer. Okay, well, the answer is we don't have a market fit, a perfect market fit yet. Definitely working on it and trying to understand out of this population, what is our market fit. We believe there is a substantial, but still working hard to find it and see how we can make it more of a fit. So just to kind of rephrase this, are we going to go after 80 million freelancers in 2020? Maybe not in 2020, but definitely the next 3 decades. Right now, we're going to get first to these millions. We're transacting more than 100 billion. Then we'll go after the rest. And as you know, they're telling the same story. Okay, most of the freelancers, solopreneurs, small businesses will share that 80% of their time they're not doing the things that they thought they're gonna do. Right? They're not doing that superpower, that passion, the reason they started the business. However, they're doing 4 very basic things, right? And when we talk with people outside of this company, we try simple words for people to understand. One, getting clients, right? These businesses want to get clients. They want to get more clients. their business. What does it mean to manage the business? From payments, through agreements, through following leads, through bookkeeping, of managing the business. 3, what happens when they need to either spend some money upfront, buy some equipment, maybe a venue or buy a new camera or buy a new computer. They need to finance their business. And 4, they need knowledge. And they need knowledge like oxygen. Corporate world where knowledge means just hiring an extra talented, experienced individual. With small businesses, knowledge is everything. They need to do it all. They need the access they get from their community. The reason we believe there's a huge opportunity is while they're enterprise in the US, these 20,000 have endless needs, right? When we go back to the 4 basic needs, what we see is that there are more than 50 million that have only 4 basic needs. So again, enterprises, small number, lots of needs, freelancers, many of them, just 4 needs, right? 4 basic needs. Reminder of the 4 basic needs. And what do they have today that can address these needs? So this is just an example, right? It's not covering every single tool out there. But we are hearing from the market that they're creating kind of bunch of solutions using many tools. But mostly when we ask people what did we replace for them, it ends with the pen and paper, it ends with the Google Docs, it ends with the checkbook, right? So it's just very interesting to see how they're addressing their needs today. I will go quickly through Honeybook because as John said, you know, it's a short, we had a short week and another just few days to the end of the month. But when we look at how Honeybook can address these 4 needs, and that's the basic question. We look at them and we say, okay, first, we address managing a business, right? Through integrated with payments, we were able to streamline more of the processes from the very first connection with the client through the booking process, actions later on. What's interesting is that we were able, in many ways, to prove that through that we can addressing the other 3 buckets. So kind of to think as a proactive platform, when you think about managing your business and having on top of it, you know, community and knowledge, getting clients, financing the business, we can, through the usage of data, address the other 3. How does it manifest itself in the day-to-day? I know you don't like quizzes, so I'm not going to ask, I'm just going to show you. So in the day-to-day, our community is sharing knowledge, right? How they thrive for knowledge. But beyond that, we see how we can use our data to give them the knowledge that they don't have the access to on a day-to-day basis. Last month was just an example, gender pay gap. And beyond the fact we talked about something that is important, we proved something else, which when you have when you have the access to actions and invoices, you can flag things that people don't know, right? You can tell people, we believe you're not pricing yourself in the right way. Hopefully down the road, we will know how to use our data to tell people, here is the best way for you to build your proposal, your brochure. Here is the best way to finance your business or manage different aspects of your business. Here's the way to get clients. When you look at other things that we've done, and this is just, we call it pilot projects, right? When we look at opportunities, we saw that just we're able to create opportunities to different members of the community. Do we think it's a home run already? Well, we don't think that yet. But what we know is there is a way to create opportunities through the data, through the fact that you get people together, you know when they have an opportunity coming, and we'll talk more about that. Lastly, I'll mention financing the business. We ran an experiment in the last 2 months, which was pretty simple. We asked people, hey, you have this payment coming up. We know you're gonna get it. We know that this, do you want the money right now for a certain fee? And the results were pretty amazing. I will try to go quick through the next, because you guys know most of them. We had to explain what is our business model, grow, to kind of to explain that phenomenon of being able to support growth of businesses and leverage revenue at the same time. And just to bring that message home, we try to look at different public companies and what they're seeing. You all know the companies on the screen, right? Yes. Oh, no worries. What we try to do here is we looked at public companies that serve the customer, and we try to understand which companies are able to generate a certain amount of revenue per customer per year. So what you see on the bottom is the name of the company, and on the left, the annual revenue per customer per year, right? The annual revenue per customer. And what we saw here is that companies that are creating more of these 4 buckets and at the same time charging through are able to generate more revenue. And these companies are Mindbody, Shopify, and even Square, that is now adding Square Capital and other services. The companies that are able to add, again, to create more value to the 4 buckets and charge on revenue are able to more revenue. But the second thing that was pretty interesting was not only what their customers, what the public market thinks about them. And when we look at these companies are trading on the most possible. Square, as last week, was trading on 18x forward revenue multiple. And that is really, really high. Just that as an example. And then we talked about our metrics. I know that we all talk about our NPS, and the NPS goes as low as 55 and as high as 84 churn. What we don't know is how to benchmark it to other companies. And I want to share with you that last week when we presented, we put this slide on the screen, and Yen and I agreed that we're going to share this slide. So I'm going to speak until here, and Yen's going to speak. And once this slide was on the screen, someone from the far back, one of the 3 top partners at NoWest, stopped us and says, wait. This is incredible. Something like this. In this SMB world, and as the businesses get smaller and smaller, the expectation for churn to go, and these churn numbers are almost as good as in the enterprise world. This is one of our strongest metrics. And I know we don't talk about it that much, but churn is one of our strongest metrics. Now, we do see inflations at times, and we are tracking it. But I want to share with you the feedback, the benchmark, feedback against other companies in the super low levels. And our dollar retention is really, really high. Now, I think, again, I don't want to take you through all these metrics, so I'm going to go through it quick. But we did cover CAC and LTV, and just to show the trend, how much does it cost us to acquire a new customer, and how much revenue we make over time. So CAC, customer acquisition cost, LTV is impacted by the churn numbers and by our take rate, and CAC is affected by the cost of new members and the blend of how many come from organic source channels and others. And what is really interesting to see is while in 2014 we were paying less of what we were making per customer, over time it really switched, and our payback in months went from 100 months to less than 10 months, and it's huge. Usually companies see as they grow the opposite reaction, which is goes up over time. We talked about our revenue growth, and 200% is very high, so they all got excited. We talked about our trajectory, and obviously this is what we're committing to, but here internally we need to achieve even more. We talked about the run rate of every year. This is a super important number. As you saw, valuations are connected to future revenue as opposed to revenue at the time. And lastly, we talked about 2018, and you know what, I will end with that. The one super interesting thing to know about our business, while we have our revenue for the year, and that's going to end on $10.7 million, is on our current member base, on our current customers. If we don't add an extra customer for next year, we know we're going to generate dollars in revenue next year. Now, just to understand, this is a 50% growth, right? From 10.7 to 16, it's a 50% growth. And that is if, you know, we close our doors and we all go, or maybe we keep a few people here. But obviously, this is not what we're committing to. We're committing to $21.1 million. And that is a high confidence number that we have to the board. However, at the same time, as I said, internally, we will not be satisfied with that number. What we really want is to see how from different things, different experiments that we ran this year and the beginning of next year, we'll be able to really generate $25 million next year. Probably going to be our operating plan internally. I talked a little bit about the output of these projects, but here I will talk about that another day, because as John said, it is a super short, it was a short week last week, and we have just a few days to the end of the month. If anyone has questions, whatever I presented today, please Slack me or just ask me later. And with that, do we have us? No, we don't. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope it was insightful.